everybody, and welcome to Stupid Gun Control Arguments, Episode 8. And in this episode, we are going to discuss weapons of war, the argument about weapons of war. You know, the liberals and the gun grabbers, they always talk about how the AR-15 and the AK-47, they're weapons of war, and there's no reason that, you know, a civilian, a normal person, a regular person should ever be able to own a weapon of war. Well, let's get some education behind that. So this is the Russian Mosin Nagant. It was built from 1861 to 1965, and there's been over 37 million of them produced. And they fought in over 40 wars worldwide. It was issued to several different militaries and is a bolt action rifle, meaning when you fire one shot, you have to rack and load the next one. This is truly a weapon of war. Now it shoots the 7.62 by 54R cartridge, which is a nice big fat cartridge, and it sits somewhere between the .308 and the .30-06 as far as power and size. But like I said, the Mosin Nagant 9130, Russian design, over 37 million made, truly a weapon of war. So maybe that's too old for you. Maybe you're like, well, no, I'm talking modern weapons of war. Modern weapons of war. Well, even though the Mosin Nagant is more than likely still used in a lot of wars out there, just because of the amount of surplus there is, let's go with this. Oh, this little guy. Yes, this is the Glock 19. This is the Glock 19. It is one of the most popular semi-automatic pistols on the market today, and it is still produced today. Now, the Glock 19 is used by American Special Operations Units, military special operations units, including the Navy SEALs. This is an actual weapon of war. The military does use this, and it is popular among civilian concealed carriers. It shoots a 9mm cartridge, right there, holds 15 in the magazine, one in the pipe, that is unless you're from one of the communist states where they narrow it down to 10 rounds, but 15 rounds is standard capacity. Now it has a lightweight polymer design. It is considered to be one of the most reliable pistols on the market, and it's an Austrian design made by a guy by the name of Gaston Glock. So I find it funny that all the liberals and gun grabbers are talking about weapons of war, but those two are never brought up in their conversation, in their arguments about wanting to ban rifles and weapons that are weapons of war. They always talk about this, the AR-15. Guess what? Not a weapon of war. This is the civilian model semi-automatic AR-15. It is what's most commonly found in households that have an AR-15. Now that is not to say that fully automatic versions of this are not available, but the process to go through to even obtain one, with the tax stamps, the waiting periods, the background checks, and I mean almost DNA and blood sample tests in order to pick up a fully automatic version of one of these, not to mention the thousands of dollars that it costs just to purchase the rifle. Civilian model AR-15, but it looks like a military weapon. It's military style. Well, for the military style argument, I suggest that you go and watch my military style stupid gun control argument video right here. So there's several variations of this rifle. It is a standard 30 round capacity, not high capacity, standard 30 round capacity. This one happens to be made of all metal. They do make polymer versions of this as well, made by several different manufacturers, and it's never been issued to the military. This is not a weapon of war. It's ineffective as a weapon of war. So the other common rifle that you hear about with weapons of war is the AK-47, or the AKM, the AK, however you want to say it. This is a Hungarian AMD made at the FEG factory, and it too has a standard 30 round capacity magazine, not high capacity, standard 30 round capacity magazine. It has a scary, scary, scary folding stock. Ooh. I think somebody in New York just cried. I think I hurt their feelings by doing that. But this is also a semi-automatic civilian model of what would be the AK-47 that the Russians use and currently still use today. However, this is not a weapon of war. Like I said, it is a civilian semi-automatic style. Semi-automatic being there is 1 round expelled per pull of the trigger, not fully automatic like actual military weapons are. Now the interesting thing about the AK, or the AKM, the AK, whatever you want to call it, this, like I said, is the Hungarian AMD. It is the most produced rifle in the world ever in history, and has fought multiple times in war, and is currently still used in war today. But not ones like this. Not semi-automatic ones. Now somebody might say, well, but the semi-automatic ones end up in terrorist hands and all that. That doesn't make it a weapon of war. That doesn't make it a military weapon. That means that some asshole got a hold of a semi-automatic version and used it for bad things. The argument that just because a semi-automatic version of a rifle ends up maybe on a battlefield is kind of like saying that bow and arrows are weapons of war. It's like saying rocks are weapons of war. It's like saying sticks are weapons of war. While sticks, bow and arrows, swords, rocks, all the whole 9 yards have killed multitudes and multitudes and multitudes of people throughout history. Just because it ends up on the battlefield does not mean it's necessarily a weapon of war. By that reasoning, cars are weapons of war, because cars are used as IEDs all the time. So I think you see where I'm going with the weapons of war argument. There is no substance behind the use of the word weapons of war other than to fearmonger, to make people scared of these civilian model rifles that have every business in civilian hands. So with that being said, when you use the term weapons of war, if you're not talking about this, but you are talking about this, you just sound stupid.